Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 6th of November, comes to you from London. And the dollar jumped yesterday, so we're seeing it probably just finding some support here on the cloud, although the prices are through. The lagging line is holding through, but that's quite a big jump. And of course, we're still long term bullish. So we're just seeing that dollar strength kicking in yesterday, which is leading to euro weakness. So the euro really selling off there, and the euro is still bearish on all three time frames based on the cloud charts. And looking at the Japanese yen, the dollar looking strong here as well. Sterling, because that stronger dollar is held sterling at bay, we are just seeing a bit of short-term weakness. And Eurodollar, actually sterling still holding its position around the 116 level, so actually still bullish against the euro. So euro weakness is actually more of an issue now than sterling weakness. And looking at the Swiss franc, we're seeing sterling looking pretty strong here on the short and medium term charts as well. Bitcoin sitting at $9,400, so we are still short-term bullish, but we've got work to do on that medium-term chart still. The S&P 500 index was little change yesterday, still bullish on all three time frames. The same with the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones index as well. Market's not rocketing, having broken to new highs, but they are just steadily edging higher. The Russell 2000 still has work to do, of course, to make to a new high, but is still looking bullish. The futures this morning, the S&P future up very slightly, the Nasdaq E-mini. Bit hard to say which way the market will open this early and with such a small amount of change on the futures, so our call was flat today. The FTSE 100 index down very slightly this morning, and FTSE Midcaps also just down slightly, but actually holding bullish in all three time frames. The DAX is down very slightly, and the CAC 40 is up very slightly. So we're just seeing a mixed picture across the board. Japan slightly down, Hang Seng slightly up, and the the Chinese market and Shanghai down about 0.4%. So that's probably one of the bigger changes. And the Sensex actually up 2/3% in India, so that's looking pretty strong. The Aussie market down just over 0.5%, so a really mixed picture in the Asia Pacific region. Brent crude sitting at 62.49, down 0.75% this morning, but still holding bullish in the short and medium term charts. And WTI, much the same picture, of course. US NatGas sitting at $2.86, gunning for this $3 level. Be interesting to see how NatGas reacts tomorrow on storage numbers. Gold sitting at 14.85, that stronger dollar hitting gold yesterday, so we're seeing a sell-off there. And silver similarly in short-term bearish territory. US 10-year yields sitting at 1.85%, so just holding on to those gains, and that medium-term transition now looking pretty assured. And then German bond prices, of course, with yields rising, bonds are falling, and we're seeing German bond prices continuing their sell-off. That head and shoulders that we're seeing showing up in the weekly lagging line really playing on bond prices. Looking at the individual stocks now, in the Dow last night, this data coming from Yahoo Finance, Walgreens was the best performer, up 2.6%. Pfizer was the worst, down 1.4%. And here we see the chart for Pfizer still looking pretty bearish on all three time frames. In the Nasdaq 100, the best performer was Renergen. Adobe was second best, they were up 4.2%. That chart's still looking pretty good on the long-term trend. And if we look at the downside here, we saw Mylan, NV, NetVs, they were down, Mylan were down nearly 10%, and that chart's still looking pretty grim. The Aussie market, the best performers, corporate travel management, they're up 10%. Not enough to change the picture there. The chart's still pretty bearish. And Melbank Private, they were down 8%. And that's really put paid to their turn into bearish there. So we're seeing the relative breakdown as well. Looking at India now, the best performer was Cipla Limited. They're up 3%, but not enough to change the chart. Infosys also up 2.5%, but not enough to change the fact that they've really sold off heavily lately. And if we look at the downside, not many stocks were down. Of course, India was strong, but Titan, they were down, although the chart still looks pretty good on the long-term chart there. Looking now to Europe, if we look at FTSE 100 index, we see Marks and Spencers are the lead performer. They've had results out this morning which have actually surprised the market. Although the news is bad, it's less bad than feared, and so we are seeing a little bit of a move to the upside here, but of course the charts are pretty bearish. Imperial Brands, Sainsbury's up in sympathy, so we are seeing supermarkets, actually Ocado, and even some of the banks performing quite well there, RBS. If we look at the downside, we've got British Land, Melrose. British Land down 2%. land securities. So it looks like resource stocks and property stocks have been hit quite badly this morning. In the FTSE 250 this morning, the best performers, the restaurant group, they're up 4.7%. Not enough to change the picture here. Chart's still looking pretty grim. Metro Bank up 3.7%, but of course have had a terrible ride this year. On the downside, we've got Into Properties. They're down 13% this morning after flagging a fundraising, and we're seeing companies falling in unison. In Europe, we've got SocGen up this morning, and BNP Paribas, ING. So we're seeing European banks having a little bit of a run this morning. The long-term chart there for SocGen still has work to do. On the downside, we've got Daimler. They're down this morning, down by 1.7%, and BMW down as well. Enel, Amadas. So we're seeing a mixed picture across the board. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.